Welcome to another edition of InFocus. I'm Jennifer Fuller. I hope you're enjoying the start of the holiday season. COVID-19 has certainly changed our way of life over these nearly 2 years, but for some, those changes have been more difficult to adapt to. While many people are starting to get back to normal, those with loved ones in congregate facilities still face uncertainty thanks to continued COVID-19 concerns. We spoke with several families whose loved ones live at the Murray Developmental Center in Centralia about how they're handling the holidays this year.
Well, she turned 50 last year too, so that was hard because I was really expecting we were going to have this great party and all of this stuff, and instead, I did send stuff and they all decorated and they got dressed up and they had cupcakes, but I wasn't there for it.
The Murray Center in Centralia is home to about 250 individuals.
Many of them are severely and profoundly medically fragile and disabled, and then we also have a large group of individuals that are more high functioning, but they have some severe behavior issues. Many of them have lived previously in community group homes, but they've come to Murray.
The pandemic has been hard on everyone, but for those with family in a facility like the Murray Center, there are even more challenges.
One day they just tell us you can no longer come in, and the next time we got to see our loved ones was 4 months later, and the day they told us we could come, the next day, that very night, someone tested positive, one of the staff, so then we had another 2 weeks we had to wait. And when we did go to visit, we had to sit 6 feet away. We could not touch them, hug them, kiss them. We had to wear PPE, had to be outside, and you had to schedule every visit.
I did talk to her on the phone quite a bit. She makes her little noises into the phone and I talk, so I guess maybe that helped a little too. But you never really know what she understands or what she doesn't understand.
How do you explain to someone like our son who functions like a 9-month-old, all of a sudden his mom's not coming anymore and his dad, and he doesn't see him? It was just really horrible. And finally in March, a whole year later, March 31st, we finally were able to take our loved ones out for a ride or take them off campus. And when our son Mark looked at me and we walked outside, the look on his face, he got in the car and he just grinned for 45 minutes because we went for a ride, and sang Christmas songs, which he loves. But he had no idea. And it was really difficult, even more so, I think, in a way, for those individuals that are more high functioning because they couldn't go anywhere. And this is a very active group. There was dances at the center all the time. There's always activities, and most of all of that was stopped.
The past year was especially hard on new residents and their families.
So he'd been there just over a year when the pandemic started. So he was in a really good routine with coming home, and that wasn't real good. It was hard to explain to him why he couldn't come home.
It was a very, very tough transition for us because, like I said, he was home with us for a long time, and it was not something we had ever planned on doing. I have twins that are 19 also, so we have 4 kids, and we've just always taken him everywhere we went, and he's always, for the most part, been pretty good, but still, fully disabled and a lot to take care of on a regular basis. But so when we put him in there, it was really hard, very hard. And we were pretty much told you'd be able to see him whenever you want. You could come in the middle of the night. He would have access to this, to that, different doctors, specialists. Fast forward 6 weeks, he was in there, and then obviously we would know what happened with pandemic, and we pretty much didn't really get to see him for a year.
Families and residents did their best to keep spirits up.
She's addicted to Pepsi, so I've been Instacarting Pepsis in, so they get dropped off at the front. And they make sure she gets them. But yeah, usually that's something I do. I show up with cases of Pepsi. I carry it in, and the chips and the cookies, because she's obsessed with cookies.
And this pandemic, I've been a trooper right through it.
The holidays have been especially rough.
Yeah, I've been cooped up in the cottage, really not doing nothing, hanging out with my friends and all that, talking on the phone with my dad, asking him constantly when he's going to come see me and all.
So we usually bring Christmas to her. We show up Christmas morning, we bring pancakes or donuts, and we open her presents, and then when she's done with us, she shushes us on our way. So it was really hard because we didn't get to experience anything with her.
While Illinois opened up in June, those in congregate care facilities like Murray still face restrictions.
It's been very, very frustrating because as soon as they get out and they're starting to do things, like now they're starting to go back to workshop, they're starting to do things. Well, then when a staff comes positive with COVID, they've got 14 days quarantine again, where they have to stay on their unit, they can't really go anywhere. So it just keeps starting over and over. And I think for them and all of us, we just want to get back to normal. We had huge plans for a Fall Fest, which they've had every year at Murray. Of course, we didn't last year. It's a huge, big deal. We have hay rides. They dress up for Halloween. They have wheelchair decorating contest. Well, that was planned for right before Halloween, and then someone came with COVID. So all of that was canceled. So their Halloween was pretty much canceled. And it was horrific. I mean, they don't understand why, really, some of them. So Christmas, we are hoping. That's all we can do.
While the Murray Center's families and residents have high hopes, the coming holiday season remains uncertain.
Oh, well, of course, I'm hoping Max is going to be home with us. What's the next holiday? What's the next holiday, Max? Christmas, Thanksgiving? Yeah, I do a lot of cooking on Thanksgiving. Christmas. Are you going to come home and see Mom?
Yeah.
Yeah. This year you're coming home to see us, aren't you? You're going to get a lot of presents.
Aunt Kathy, I hope Grandma Ruby and Aunt Kathy, I see you for Thanksgiving and Christmas on the 20th. I love you. I love everybody.
For Murray families, the plans remain uncertain because COVID cases and quarantines can happen without warning.